who would like a coffee? It's freshally brewed.
There you go.
Takers. Sorry, there's only two. His hand went up first, so you'll definitely get one. All right, so from our research, we found that bringing coffee to the student is a potentially new way for coffee drinkers to receive their coffee, specifically students. So initially we thought about building a new coffee shop geared for students, but we thought about bringing the coffee to the student, and that's basically where we are right now.
Yeah. So to start off, we went out into the world of coffee shops to just observe and engage with customers. All 5 of us went to 5 different locations from Raleigh to Boiling Rock to try to get a better variety. So then we did our affinity map, and we started to see these initial clusters of who was there and what were they doing there. So for the most part, we saw that it was young adults, probably 18 to 30 range, who were just either students or aspiring professionals. And whenever you looked, they would have their coffee, and at their desk, they would have a laptop open, and they would be engaged with it. So yeah, regardless of what the people were doing there, because there was also people there that were just socializing and even doing business meetings, there was just a high level of productivity and engagement. So yeah, the coffee would bring the people in, and then they would be motivated to use that space. So next we have like just some quotes that kind of point to some of the stuff that we got that really reinforces this idea of productivity and being engaged with the space. So yeah, you can see that these are mostly like geared towards the space, and then obviously I need my coffee. So that's what we got from our initial ethnography.
Yeah, so this was our first persona. This is Rachel. Rachel is 20 years old. She's a biology major. Like she's pretty basic, and we did that because that was kind of what we imagined the typical, coffee shop visitor, like a consistent coffee shop visitor to be. She likes lattes. She likes spending money on coffee. She likes going to coffee shops and doing work there. And we assumed that many students kind of felt similarly, where they prioritized how they were getting their coffee and like how their coffee tasted equally to where they were getting their work done. And so that led to, as Cole said, an initial idea that kind of looked like this. So imagine this is a coffee shop. This is where you have like your coffee bar and stuff. And so these are groups of tables, kind of like on the first floor of Davis Library. With the idea being, you could have 4 or 5 people go in as a group, sit down. We would try to sell coffee by the pot. And it was a little bit more gimmicky in terms of the idea that it was kind of transactional. It wasn't so much about the coffee, but about selling space and kind of using coffee as a way to make it so people didn't have to show up and say, I'll spend $10 for being able to sit here for an hour. And then we realized that wasn't a great idea. The biggest issue with it is that it actually brings in more competition instead of differentiating us. Instead of just competing with coffee shops, we were now competing with libraries, even your room, any place else where people would want to go to work. And so we decided it was time to pivot.
So we decided to pivot, and so we figured instead of trying to compete against the library or the spaces where you're already studying, why don't we kind of just cooperate with those areas and just bring the coffee right to you. And since you already have that space, we're just going to use that space and just bring the coffee. So our new idea, I think you can shift to the next slide. Oh, no, you can go back. So our new idea then was basically a portable coffee cart that can go all around campus and can even go into libraries and just all around spaces. And all you have to do is pull out your phone, order, say just, hey, come to me, this is where I'm sitting, and it goes right to you. And so that basically changes. So our original journey map was, you want to study, so you go to a coffee shop, you order your coffee, and then you enjoy it there. But the problem is, there's often not enough space. There are just a lot of other, it's a distance, you have to walk there. So we decided to shift it from your regular go to the coffee shop to what if you're studying in the library and the coffee's delivered to you. And you're just sitting there, so just imagine yourself, you're sitting in the library, you're studying, and you just gotta grind out some work for the next several hours, but you're tired, you're hungry, and you're just like, I just need like a quick little refuel. So you just pull out your phone and you say, hey, come just bring the coffee cart to me. It comes up to you, you say, I want that muffin, I would like a latte, please, and you pay, and it's just like that. Like, you don't even have to get up and go anywhere. So in order to do that, we decided to shift our persona a little bit because the person is a little bit different. So meet new Rachel, and a nice little interface too. So new Rachel, she lives on campus. She studies at the library a lot. She doesn't live off campus. And so we, so we had to shift that a little bit. And then I think we also just updated our journey map a little bit as well to kind of show the experience of what that looks like with a coffee cart.
So we kind of struggled with the journey map. We were like, this isn't working, we need to pivot our idea, what are we gonna do? So our group came together and we decided to actually go out and like try and see if this would work. So we went out and tested it, and we went to Davis, took a coffee maker and brewed coffee in a study lounge
On the 5th floor.
on the 5th floor, and then we went out and we asked people like, do you want this free cup of coffee? And we would give it to them, and then in return they'd give us some feedback. So in some of the feedback we got was that like people would use it if it's affordable because they don't want to be paying more for our service than they would if they just left. Or we found out that vending machines that serve like cold brew coffee, that's going to be a big competitor because they're already there, so they don't have to leave the library. But people would rather have hot coffee than the cold vending machine coffee. But we got a lot of positive feedback because people were like, I never want to leave, or I already got my coffee before, or I just deal without it. So a lot of people said they would definitely use our service.
All right, so going forward, there's obviously a lot more research and testing that we would like to do. We want to spend a little bit more time on campus, specifically at other libraries. We're at Davis, like we said, so we want to test out maybe at the UL or other study spots on campus. And we also want to try different times. We were there Sunday at 11 a.m., so we want to see what the feedback would be if we went at different times throughout the week. We also need to address our competitors, like Addie said. We didn't really think about the vending machine side of libraries, so a lot of students we found would drink the little glass cups of Starbucks coffee while they're in the library, so we want to do a little bit more research with that. And ultimately we want to create some sort of app, and the way that we've started to think about it is sort of like an ice cream truck where we bring the coffee to you, but we also have more coffee, so our hope is that other students will see the coffee and they will also want to buy some of the coffee that we have with us. And that's about it. So if y'all have any questions, comments.